Last year's women's retreat was my first time attending, and I got here early Saturday morning and happened to run into Pastor Kim, and we got talking. I told her my story, and the next thing I know, she pulled me up on stage. So if you weren't here last year, here's my story. I grew up and was living in Western New York at the time, and I was working on a dairy farm. I still remember the day that it happened. Little backstory, I was not raised in church. I didn't know God, didn't have a relationship with Him. All I heard growing up my whole life was that it was all fake. The Bible, God, none of that was real. So that's what I believed, because that's what I had been told. And so in the fall of 2019, I was working on a dairy farm. I was in a big pen of cows, and I was just at a really low point. I call it down in the rocks of not feeling loved, not feeling worthy, and just not knowing what to do. And there was this voice in my head that said, "But Jesus loves you." And that really caught my attention because I didn't know who Jesus was. And I didn't know what that meant. It's still emotional, but He called me and I didn't know who He was. He told me that He loved me, and I just thought, well, you know what? I'm gonna keep telling myself this until I believe it. And so I did, and it didn't take long to start believing that. So 6 months after I call it the Jesus phone call, He literally called me. I had a friend here in the Frederick, Maryland area, and I was just looking for a change in a lot of ways. And she texted me the one day, actually just about when I was to accept another job that would keep me in New York, and she said, "Hey, we have a job opening on the farm here in Maryland, like, you really gotta come down." And I was like, yeah, I gotta go. I need to go to Maryland. I don't know why, but I need to get there. In the fall of 2021, I was at a social event where I just didn't have any friends. The men were standing over here, the women were standing over here, and I was literally sitting in the middle. And I thought, this just isn't working for me. I need to find a group of friends, a group of women. So I got out my trusty Google and Google searched women's groups. And FCF Church was the first thing that popped up. And I still don't know how it happened to this day. Well, I do know how it happened, but I clicked on it. I think there was 2 categories, growth groups and social groups, and this was all on the online page, not on the app. Clicked on growth groups, looked through them, picked one. It happened to be the Chosen, and it let me sign up even though they were in week 3. So I signed up, and I think it was the next day I got an email from Heather Churchy, who was leading the Chosen group, and welcoming me to the group and giving me the information. And my first thought was, wow, this is a real person. I was shocked, and then I was nervous. I just thought, I've never even been to church before. I don't know anyone. I don't know what this place is. All the hesitations of maybe I won't go. So I emailed Heather back with my hesitations, and she shared with me that the first time she came to FCF was also for a growth group, and then she started coming to church. And there was a phrase that she put in there that has stuck with me that was really what drew me in. She was not pressuring at all. She said, she shared her story and how it was just like mine. And she said, "Let me know what you think." And I was like, wow, she's just like me. I think I can do this. And a caveat I told the group last year too was I specifically remember reading her email and sending it back because I was out feeding my cow. So fast forward, I came to the group. I felt very welcomed, and Heather invited me to church the next Sunday, and I have been here ever since, every Sunday. I've been in a growth group every semester, and then I came to my first women's retreat last year. And since the women's retreat last year, I have gotten baptized, I took discipleship, and then I got to co-lead discipleship with Heather this past semester. So it was really a full circle. I'm really thankful for this church and really for God bringing me here. He answered my prayer for friends and a group of women.